What was I even thinking, deciding to drive to the village? The journey was 500 kilometers. I could have taken a train or, at worst, a bus. But no, I thought, I can do it myself. Now, with only 100 kilometers left, I was already exhausted. The fatigue was the reason I had to pull over so close to the end of my trip. Getting out of the car on the shoulder, I started to stretch my stiff legs. It's okay, I thought, another hour or hour and a half, and I'll be there. Grandpa is probably waiting for me. And he was. The moment I pulled up to the house, my grandfather came out to meet me. We greeted each other warmly, and then I grabbed my things and went inside. "So, grandson, how was the drive?" he asked. "Overall, it was fine. Just really tired, but it's nothing. That's always how it is the first time. You'll get used to driving soon enough." "I'm sure I will. I don't have much of a choice. You should tell me how you're doing." "Oh, just taking it slow. What's there to tell? I have the garden, the livestock. They brought my pension yesterday. It's always the same old thing. What about you? How's life for a young man? How are you and Oksana? Is everything good with you too?" I paused for a moment before answering in a low voice. "We broke up. It's been 3 months now. Lately, I figured out what was going on and suggested we part ways." She agreed without a second thought. "Alright, don't you worry about it. At your age, you'll meet the one. Don't even fret. I'm not anymore. She's already out with another guy, posting pictures with him all the time." "Well then, you should go out and have some fun too," Grandpa said with a laugh. "While I'm here, I think I'll take your advice." "How long are you planning to stay?" I was initially thinking 2 weeks, but now I'm thinking a bit longer. "You don't mind, do you? Are you kidding? I'd love that. It gets lonely here by myself, Lida was my grandmother's name. She passed away 4 years ago, and Grandpa has been missing her ever since." "I understand. They were together for almost half a century." We sat and talked for a little while longer, then I went to the banya. When evening came, I got in touch with some local friends and went out. There were 5 of us, and we gathered at our usual spot near the central square. By about 4 in the morning, our group started to break up and head home. As it happened, I was walking the rest of the way alone since my grandfather's house was at the very edge of the village. The weather was warm, and my mood was excellent. I decided not to rush home but to savor the beautiful summer night. Of course, I had lied a little to my grandpa when I said I didn't miss my ex. The truth was, I really did. But coming here had helped me get my mind off those sad thoughts. It was in that moment, walking home along the country road, that a sense of peace and a certain revival finally washed over me. I strolled slowly as the dawn began to break on the horizon. I was a little disappointed when I realized I was almost home. But then, something caught my eye. In the window of the neighboring house, I saw a girl of extraordinary beauty. At first, I thought my drunken mind was playing tricks on me. I stood there for a moment and realized she was real. On the other side of the window stood a girl in a long, white nightgown, combing her long, jet black hair with a wooden comb. I just stood there, staring at her like an idiot. She smiled shyly and looked down. I felt it was rude to openly gawk at a stranger, so I hurried away. A thought crept into my not-so-sober mind. I should get to know her, and the sooner, the better. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my grandfather clattering dishes in the kitchen. A little later, we were having breakfast together. "What time did you get in?" he asked. "Oh, better not to ask. Around 4, I think." "Ah, that explains why you're so sleepy. Who did you go out with yesterday?" "Just some of the local guys. Lyoshka Kramitsev, Oleg Belazarov, Seryoga, and a couple of others." "I see. Were there any girls with you?" "Nope," I replied flatly. Then I remembered something. "Grandpa, do you happen to know who lives in the house next to ours?" "On the side facing the square. The Belgradskys live there." "Why do you ask?" "No reason." "No, come on, tell me," he insisted. I blushed and, with a foolish grin, confessed, "Their granddaughter is beautiful." "Ah, Anfisa. Well, let me tell you, her grandmother is beautiful, too. But something's not right with her, and the granddaughter is just the same." "What do you mean?" "There was an incident last year," he began. "A local lad went missing. He was 23. They were hanging out together, and then, poof, he was gone. The whole village searched for him, but they couldn't find him. Of course, they filed a police report, but nothing came of it. Even the K9 units were here, sniffing around, combing the entire area. It was like he vanished into thin air. After that, all sorts of rumors started spreading about them. Some people said they saw the two of them at the cemetery at night. Others claimed the grandmother was throwing coins at crossroads, all sorts of things. And what do you think? I don't believe any of it. Mishka, the boy, he was a bit of a character. Loved to gamble for money, stole little things from people. I don't know the exact details, of course, but I suspect it wasn't the neighbor who was responsible for his disappearance. It was probably the people he owed money to. As for them being witches, I don't believe that for a second. Listen, Grandpa, why have I never seen her or heard about this before? Because he disappeared a year ago, after you left. As for why you've never seen her, I don't know. You probably just came here at different times. She's from the city too and only comes to visit her grandmother in the summer. For the rest of the day, I couldn't stop thinking about Anfisa. I decided I should stop thinking and start doing. Here goes nothing, I thought. I walked over to the neighbor's yard and saw her sitting on a bench near the front garden, reading a book. Speak of the devil. Hi, I said timidly. She lifted her sky-blue eyes from the book. Hi, can I help you? My mind went blank. No, not really, I mumbled. She smiled. My name's Anfisa. I'm Dennis, I replied. Just as I was about to ask her out, someone called my name. I turned around and saw our neighbor from across the street, Aunt Olya. She was walking down the road, probably heading home from work. I'll be right back, I said to Anfisa and walked over to my acquaintance. Hello, haven't seen you in a while. You must have just gotten in yesterday, she said. Hello, Aunt Olya. Yes, just yesterday afternoon. Are you coming from work? Listen, Dennis, come over to my place for just 2 minutes. Okay, right now. Honestly, I didn't really want to go, but I couldn't refuse. As soon as the gate closed behind me, she started. Dennis, I see you've made friends with the neighbor girl. Well, yeah, you know they say she and her grandmother are witches, right? I know, my grandpa already told me. Well, if you already know that, then I can tell you another story. I don't know if you'll believe me, a stranger, but listen. I was going to the hardware store, the one in the center. It was getting dark, and not many people were around. Then, just my luck, storm clouds started rolling in. Before I could make it home, it started to pour. I stood under the store's awning. There wasn't a soul in sight. I figured I might as well go inside to wait it out. But just before I went in, I saw something. Her grandmother was standing at the crossroads. The look on her face was crazed, her eyes were wide, her mouth was open, and she was standing perfectly still. I held my breath, not wanting her to see me. Then, the old woman lifted her face to the sky and started chanting something. She was too far away for me to hear what she was saying. This went on for several minutes. Then she threw something small onto the ground, stomped on it, and started grinding her foot into that spot, just like this. I listened intently to the neighbor's story and then asked the question on my mind. Aunt Olya, maybe the old woman has just lost her mind? That's why she's acting so strange. Oh, Dennis, I thought so too at first. But then people started seeing her at the cemetery, again and again. And it wasn't to visit her own relatives. She was snooping around other people's graves. They chased her out of there so many times, but it was no use. She just kept coming back at night. Tell me, would you go to a cemetery at night? Of course not. What would I do there? Exactly my point. But she goes. Anyway, Dennis, you go on. But think hard about what I've told you. Okay, I will. Goodbye. And say hello to your grandfather for me. I left the neighbor's house in turmoil. On one hand, it would be rude to just cut off my conversation with Anfisa. On the other, maybe I really should stay away from them. I didn't think she and her grandmother were witches, but they were definitely not all there. What did she say to you? Anfisa asked as I returned. Her question caught me off guard. Oh, nothing special. She just hadn't seen me in a while. Her face darkened, and she said with clear regret in her voice, "Oh, please. For some reason, the whole village hates me and my grandmother." Having said that, she lowered her head, and her shoulders slumped. I tried to comfort her. Hey, don't be sad. People say all sorts of things. You don't understand. I'm so tired of the gossip and the whispers behind my back. Okay, don't worry. Maybe it really is hard for me to understand. Do you want to go for a drive? I came here by car. She agreed. Along the way, I asked her to tell me how it all started. I don't know about my grandmother, she said, but for me, it started when I told some people at a party that I read tarot cards. After that, they all started calling me a witch. Our people here are so superstitious, I said. So, do you believe in God? That's a tough question, I admitted. I wear a cross and I'm baptized, but I don't go to church or observe the fasts. I think most people are like that, she said. Our conversation soon shifted to other topics. We got so lost in conversation that I didn't even notice it had gotten dark outside. I drove her back. When I got home, I found my grandfather was already sound asleep. I wanted to do the same, but it wasn't meant to be. I tossed and turned, replaying my drive with Anfisa in my head. Everything went perfectly. She was a very pleasant person to talk to. I decided then and there that I would keep seeing her. The next day, I helped my grandfather with chores, and then I wanted to hang out with my neighbor again, but she wasn't around. Fine, I could always spend time with my friends. Leoka, Oleg, and I went swimming at the lake. The weather was hot, and there was nothing to do at home anyway. We sat on the beach for about 3 hours and then decided to head home. On the way back, I remembered that my grandfather had asked me to buy some groceries. Inside the store, I saw a familiar face behind the counter. Hello, Aunt Galia. How are you? Oh, Dennis, hello. She smiled and came out from behind the display case to greet me. Look at you. It's been ages. But it's good you came back. You haven't forgotten your grandfather. Of course not. So, what's new with you? Same old, same old. Except Marina is leaving for the city to study in August. I see. Listen, I know it's none of my business, but you should stop hanging out with her. With who? With Anfisa, she said, her voice dropping. What's wrong with her? She's not a good person. And I won't even talk about her grandmother. What did she ever do to you all? Don't be mad at me, just listen. Last year, Anfisa was also hanging out with a boy. And what happened? He disappeared. Yes, he disappeared. I've been told. You're not the first well-wisher to tell me. And her grandmother wanders the cemetery at night. I know that too. Well, she continued, one night she was there, and the next morning I went to visit my father's grave. And what do I see? On his grave mound, there's a freshly dug little hole. So, like a fool, I started digging it up with my hands. You know what, I have to go, I interrupted. Can I just get a loaf of white bread, please? I left the store feeling grim. Why did everyone see them as evil? I spent the next day lost in thought. Maybe I really shouldn't see her. But then again, it seemed a shame to break things off because of small-town gossip. She'd gotten under my skin somehow, pulling me in like a magnet. I'd never felt like this before. 2 days passed without us seeing each other. My mood was so foul that I didn't even want to eat. I tried not to show it, though. I didn't want my grandpa to worry. But you can't hide a needle in a haystack. One evening, he came up to me and said, "You don't want to go fishing with me tomorrow, do you?" "No, I don't feel like it." "That's a shame. You haven't looked yourself lately." "Well, think about it. I get up early, though, around 5. "Oh, then definitely count me out." "You lazybones," he chuckled. But my grandfather was persistent, and sure enough, he woke me up at the crack of dawn. "Get up." I opened my eyes and saw him standing there, already dressed and ready to go. "I went to bed late, Grandpa. Let's go some other time." "I know you're some other time," he said and left the room. "Don't be mad. I'll go with you tomorrow, I promise." Without saying another word, he left the house, not even saying goodbye. Damn, is he really upset? I wondered. After a while, I managed to fall back asleep. Suddenly, I was jolted awake by a sharp noise. Someone was knocking loudly on the window. I jumped out of bed to see who the uninvited guest was. I couldn't believe my eyes. Anfisa was standing in my yard. I quickly got dressed and went outside. "Hey, why haven't you come by?" she asked, getting straight to the point. "Oh, you know, I've been busy." "Come on, I know it's because of what the locals have been saying." With every moment I spent with her, I realized I was falling in love. I wasn't ready to just stop seeing her. I was going to live my life how I wanted, and everyone else could go to hell. "Anfisa, I really have been busy. We can go for a walk today, though." "You know, I have a better idea," she said. "What is it?" I asked with genuine interest. "There's an abandoned house not far from the village. I go there sometimes. It's quiet, and no one else goes there." "Okay, but why there, specifically?" "I just want to show it to you. It's my place of power, so to speak. Besides, there are so many old things left behind by the previous owners." "Alright, let's go. What time do you want to leave? Would after 9 work? I just need to help my grandmother." "Okay, If we can't go earlier, then we'll go in the evening. Great, see you then, Anfisa said, and then she suddenly kissed me on the cheek before quickly leaving the yard. I stood there like an idiot, watching her go. Time seemed to drag on. I stared at the clock, and as soon as it struck 9, I went to my neighbor's house. She was already waiting for me, sitting on the bench in front of her house. On the way to the house, we made some light conversation. Well, here we are, Anfisa said, breaking the silence. Nearby stood an abandoned house. I got out of the car with some apprehension and followed her. The house itself was unremarkable, but I was struck by its interior, which was surprisingly tidy. She averted her gaze and then whispered, "So you're a frequent guest here too. Let me show you the things the previous owners left," she said, changing the subject. My interest was immediately piqued, and I started examining the various objects she showed me. "And look what else I found," she said, "old photographs." She pushed a worn-out album toward me and began to show me the black and white pictures. As her hand rested on a page, I gathered my courage and placed my palm over hers. Anfisa immediately looked up from the photo and straight at me. I didn't hesitate and kissed her. Apparently, she didn't mind, as her arms quickly wrapped around my neck. Then, the unexpected happened. She pulled away for a second, pointed to a sofa in the corner of the room, and said, "Let's go over there." Honestly, I was extremely surprised by her suggestion. I hadn't expected things to move so fast, but I certainly didn't want to refuse. "I'm not against it," I said. "But could you do one thing for me?" "What is it?" "Take off your cross, please." Without hesitation, I took off the chain with my cross and placed it on the floor. At that moment, my head wasn't thinking at all. We moved to the sofa, and I leaned in close to her. It was then that I realized I had made a terrible mistake. Her face and body began to undergo a metamorphosis. Her skin started to mottle with dark spots, wrinkles rapidly etched themselves across her face, and her features twisted and distorted. Her eyes, in a split second, they became sinister. They were the same eyes, but the gaze no longer belonged to her. "They told you my ex-boyfriend went missing, didn't they?" Anfisa asked, but the voice was not her own. A wave of panic washed over me. I screamed in terror, not knowing what to do. But she knew exactly what to do. The creature grabbed me by the collar and pulled me close. I could think of nothing better than to grab the photo album from the floor and smash it into her head with all my might. For a few seconds, she faltered and began to shriek in pain. I scrambled off the sofa and, with a running start, jumped through the window. Shards of glass dug into my body and face, but I didn't care. I fumbled in my jeans pocket for my car keys and jammed them into the ignition as fast as I could. The creature that had pretended to be Anfisa jumped onto the hood of the car. As I started to drive away, it smashed the windshield with its fists, spraying glass all over the interior. Most of it hit me, but thankfully, I had managed to squeeze my eyes shut. I could feel the pain and the blood trickling down, but those were minor things compared to what I had just survived. I entered my grandfather's house as quietly as I could. Even though it was only 10 in the evening, he was already asleep. But a floorboard under my foot creaked betrayingly, and the old man woke up. He came out to meet me and gasped, "Grandson, what on earth happened to you?" "It's nothing, everything's fine, don't worry." "Fine? Your whole face is covered in blood." "Grandpa, just don't worry, okay? I'll tell you everything." And I told him the truth. Strangely enough, he believed me immediately. I didn't know what to do, go home, or stay here with him for a while longer. I was scared for him, too, living alone with monsters like that nearby. He said he would accept whatever I decided and didn't insist on me staying. I decided to stay for another week. A couple of days later, my friends Oleg and Leoka came over. They naturally took one look at my appearance and the damage to my car and got curious. I told them the story with Anfisa but left out some details. I had to lie and say that she lured me to the house, gave me some water to drink, and then I blacked out, only waking up at night in that condition. The week came to an end, and I had to go home. I was simply too afraid to stay there any longer. About a month later, Leoka contacted me and told me that someone had burned down the abandoned house. And right after that happened, Anfisa died unexpectedly.